Hey guys, this video is going to be all about how to last longer in bed. And if you're a guy watching this, I'm pretty sure that at some point in your sexual history, you've had a certain interaction where you wish you could have lasted just a little bit longer. So in this video, we're going to be sharing our top tips on how to last longer and control your ejaculation. And with me today is my beautiful partner, Solar. He is a Tantra teacher. Some of you already met him on this channel in our video on open relationships. And he has personally mastered the art of separating his orgasm from ejaculation, which is why he's here, so he can offer a male perspective.
Hey guys, so I'm really excited to be here today because this is a topic which is very dear to me. To be really honest, this is something that I actually struggled with for several years, and I tried a lot of different methods and a lot of techniques, and finally I came to a certain method that I put together that really shows amazing results. And for those of you who will stay until the end of the video, we have a very special offer for you.
And also, before we dive in, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, especially if you like this type of content. It's super supportive. So our first tip is around shifting your mindset. Most of us are very goal-oriented when it comes to sexuality. We're rushing to the finish line to have that 3-minute orgasm at the end, and usually we're not very present on the journey to get there. So our first tip in order to last longer is to actually focus on the experience itself. So actually being fully present to all the pleasure and sensations you're feeling in this very moment, instead of thinking about where you want to get to at the end.
And as more as you're gonna focus on the present moment, as cliche as it sounds, you will notice that there is more and more sensation in the physical body. There is so much that is happening on a physical, emotional, and mental level in every moment, and you're gonna start tapping into so much more pleasure and depth. Instead of aiming to rush to this end that is usually very short and not that satisfying in all cases, you will find that there is a lot of satisfaction and amazing orgasmic experiences to be discovered along the way.
Our second tip is to slow down, and specifically to start slow. So by no means are we saying that if you want to last longer, you can only have very slow, delicate vanilla sex, because for some of you, maybe that's not very enticing. But it is really helpful to start up slow and build up the intensity gradually. If you start with the most arousing positions and with a very fast tempo, it will be really difficult for you to control your ejaculation. Whereas if you start slow and you start to build up your arousal slowly and gradually, and then slowly build up intensity, it will be much easier for you to control your ejaculation than if you started out really quick.
And even more, I found out that there is a certain time frame that if you keep to it, you're gonna have really good results. So for whatever reason it is, if you manage to stay really slow, take it really easy for the first 15 minutes. And when I say slow, it's actually not just slow, but low intensity. For the first 15 minutes, don't bring the arousal very high. You will notice that after that, you will actually be able to go as wild as you want, and it will be much more easy to contain and control the energy. Even more, putting these 2 points together, so not rushing to the end and trying to bring down the intensity a little bit, at least in the beginning, really help to realize and to create a major shift in perspective. So a lot of us as men, we are performers. We like to
woo the woman.
Yeah, we like to feel that we're giving her the best lovemaking, the best sex ever, So we try usually to go harder, faster, to impress, and all of that. But what that usually does is that we just ejaculate really quickly. We might bang really fast and really strong for a few moments, but then after a few moments we're like a flat tire. We try to impress you in the beginning, but then there's not much to show up after 5-10 minutes. So if you realize that by slowing down a little bit and bringing a little bit of the intensity lower, you get to make love for much longer. You get to feel pleasure for a much longer duration of time. And with time, this pleasure goes deeper and deeper. And it takes both you and your partner to a much more of a profound space.
And I would like to add from a woman's perspective, if you're a man engaging in heterosexual sex, this is especially relevant to you, is that a lot of men have the idea that in order to impress their female partners, they should go very strong and very fast and be very dominant from the very beginning, which there is a time and place for everything. But for most women, it takes on average 20 minutes for them to get fully aroused and activated. So actually starting slow gives her time to get fully in the mood and fully in her own erotic mindset. So when you slowly start to build up the intensity, she's ready to receive that intensity, and together you can go into very profound places. So also know that for most women, they will really appreciate you starting slow and not rushing right away to get to orgasm.
I mean, think about it like a nice piece of music, you know? You don't necessarily want to start with all the instruments going full volume, you know? Like, there might be a moment of passion in the beginning, something a little bit more dramatic, but then you need to slow down for a second. You need to build it up. And then when a big moment comes, everything was set in place for that.
See, I just got horny, so that's a good sign. That is a very good analogy, man. Take note. The third tip is a tip that can help you with the first two, and that's to become familiar with what we call your curve of arousal. So imagine a curve where 0 is where you're not aroused at all, and 10 is the point of ejaculation, and 9 is the point of no return, meaning you didn't ejaculate yet, but at this point there's no turning back. In the beginning, you want to try to keep your lovemaking between 5 and 7. This is because this is kind of the safe zone where you're already in quite an aroused state, but not too aroused that you can ejaculate at any minute. So trying to actually gauge where you are in your arousal at every point of the interaction. So tuning in with yourself and seeing, am I at a 1 out of 10? Am I at a 5 out of 10? Am I at a 7 out of 10? And if you're close to 7, starting to slow down a little bit before you start to ramp up the energy again. And this is just for your training period, so to say. So it doesn't mean that now forever you need to give up making love at 8 or 9, because that's also usually when the energy is at its peak, and most of us really enjoy being in those highly aroused states when making love. But if you're trying to last longer in the first 20 minutes, let's say, of lovemaking, try not to go over 7. And then if you choose to ejaculate, which you don't have to because you can orgasm without ejaculation, but more on that later, then you can start to ramp it up towards the end and go all the way into an orgasm.
Yeah. With that, I'll just add a little bit of a caveat, because I'm coming from a bit of a different perspective, doing a tantric practice, which we do aim to avoid the ejaculation and have this more full body orgasm. And that's, of course, that's just if it's up to you, if that's something you're interested in. But one of the major things that I saw throughout the years is that we go into this, 5, 6, 7, things are feeling good, you're making love, it's juicy, but, it's not that exciting, like you said. So guys usually say to themselves, okay, I'm doing good at 7, I'm doing good at 7.
I can handle more.
Yeah, I do. Let's do 8, Ooh, 8 feels good, 8 feels, let's do 8.5. Oh, wow, now I'm really doing it, no? And then you go on 8.5, and oops, you're at 9, and you ejaculated when you did not plan to. And this, there's a lot of practices and there's a lot of different approaches. And if there's one reason why men continuously fail, and why I made a big mess for so many years, it's just because of that. It's that willpower to not go over the 7 when you're doing good. Because you're going 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, you're thinking that you're doing very good, and then she turns at you and give you a look or say something naughty. And then immediately you're over the point of no return and you ejaculated. So if there's one thing that you take out of this, really, that makes all the difference, it's stay at 7. Have the discipline not to push more. And you will see there's a lot more into that I cannot say just now in a few minutes, but your experience of pleasure and the depth of your orgasm will grow exponentially if you manage to be patient and just stay in the lower level of arousal.
And with that, coming back to what we said in the beginning with tip number 1, focusing on the actual experience itself, the more you can be present to all of the sensation and all of the subtle and micro sensations that you're feeling throughout your body at 7, you'll notice that there is a lot of pleasure to be felt in your body and deep satisfaction there. So the more you can stay present, the more satisfying and full your arousal will feel, even if you're not close to orgasm or ejaculation yet. And our last tip, which I would say is the golden tip, is to take on a tantric practice. Now, some of you, if you've heard the word tantra, you may think that tantra equals some kind of Eastern spiritualized weird sex cult, but tantra is actually a spiritual path, a spiritual tradition with the aim of full awakening or enlightenment. And sexuality is just a small part of tantra, but there are a lot of tantric practices which, as a side effect, can very much help you control your ejaculation. However, know that tantra has way more in store for you than just that. So if that's something you're interested in, that's fine, but just know that there is a whole other world awaiting for you if you decide to go on the tantric path. And one of the tantric techniques that really help with cultivating more profound orgasms without ejaculation is the practice of sublimation.
So sublimation, in a nutshell, and for our purposes, is the capacity to move energy from a lower center to a higher center. Or in other words, take energy that you already have in your body, in your system, and move it to a different place, to get it a different use. When we're talking about the sexual practices, when we're interacting sexually, we have a lot of energy in our lower center, in our sexual center. And through certain techniques, we can move that energy to higher centers in our body, and by that having, for a moment, less of that sexual energy and more of something else that we choose to focus on. The byproduct of this is that because we are emptying that sexual center, there is more room there to have more interaction and for more sexual energy to come in.
Yeah, a good example, a good way to think about it is that your second chakra, Svadhisthana chakra, which is related to your sexual energy, is like a balloon. And this balloon has a max capacity. So as you start to get more aroused, as you're at 7, 8, 9, the balloon starts to fill up until literally no more air can go in the balloon. And what naturally happens if we don't do any tantric practices is that the balloon will explode outwards, and with it all of your semen will come out. And usually after you feel more tired and depleted, because all of this vital sexual energy kind of got depleted and lost outwards. So through sublimation, what we're actually doing is that you're filling this balloon gradually and slowly, and then you're sucking up that energy up through your energetic structure and revitalizing and re-energizing your subtle body. And by taking that energy and moving it upwards, you created more space in the balloon to create more sexual energy, which means that you can last longer, but also that you will just feel more awake, more energized, more full of vitality, instead of feeling like you just want to turn over and go to sleep after an ejaculation.
So two very beneficial techniques that can help you with sublimation is both to start to shift your awareness. Instead of having all of your attention down in the genital area, start to focus on a different point in the body. It could be the center of the chest, in the heart, but actually for men in the beginning, it's much more efficient if you focus on the middle of the forehead. So even bringing your eyes a little bit up and trying to pull the energy upwards, and you will see that there's a shift in your body, a shift in your attention, and the shift in your whole sexual energy throughout the body. Another technique that you can experiment with is certain variations of the microcosmic orbit. This is a technique where you inhale into the area of the genital and exhale, focusing on the energy going up. Now, there's a bunch of those practices that are relatively simple and can show you really good results if the only thing that you want to do is to delay the ejaculation. Now, if you want to go deeper with all of this and you want to engage in long-term tantric practices, it is important not to just pick and choose and to take a more holistic practice which go gradually throughout all of those things.
And for those of you who are really interested in tantric spirituality and tantric sexual practices specifically for men, Solar has an entire online course which is dedicated fully to that. It's a 3-month program. It has tons of amazing content, and as he said, all the practices slowly build onto each other. He's been practicing tantra for over a decade, so he's got a wealth of information and practices that he's sharing with you in a way which is really easy to understand, in a way which is safe. Because if we, let's say, never been to the gym before and you try to go to the gym and take the heaviest weights, you're going to hurt yourself. The same thing applies to tantric practices. So in his program, he slowly and gradually builds up the intensity and introduces new practices week by week. And as he said, if you watch this video and now you're gonna try maybe some of the techniques we did once or twice, it might help you a little bit, but if you want deep transformation, it's really helpful to go on a longer set program. And this program, I just want to say, it's so much more than just improving your sexual performance. That may very well be a very pleasant side effect because we all love that, but it goes really deeply also into meditation, into self-inquiry, into different energetic practices. It's a full spiritual path. So if this sounds interesting for you, we have a special offer for the first 10 people who sign up. We have a code in the comment section below where you get $100 off the course, which is the biggest discount we've ever given on the course. And after that, we have a coupon code for 10% off. So even if you didn't make it in the first 10, you still get an amazing discount of 10% off. So I'll leave all that info in the comment section below, along with Solar's Instagram and our website. So you can also look deeper into some of the other things we're offering, which are more around Tantra and spirituality. So if you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you have any recommendations for future videos that we can do together, please comment them down below, and I'll see you in the next video.